Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of the Gryphios Wasset review. This time it's going to be the Gundam Mark II. So, like I said with the HGUC review, this was a special edition release and all the colors have been slightly changed. This time the colors have been changed a lot and it's very obvious and very, very awesome. For starters, they decided to change the very festive colors to slightly darker colors. Most notable, they changed the white to gray. Not just any gray, they picked the kind of gray you would expect from a military fighter plane. So that in and of itself is great. This gives them a lot, a much more realistic feel. And that's what it all comes down to, for me at least. Also, the more festive blue has been changed to a very dark gray, almost black. And then the yellow has become a bit more orangey. The red also has become a bit more orangey. And then the gray for the joints is, I think, still the same. And that's all for colors. Now for stickers, you get as usual, the eye stickers. Get a sticker for the front camera and a sticker for the back camera. Now, on to articulation. The head goes a bit up. It goes up until it pops off. This time it is on a ball joint. We'll rotate around all the way as usual. And we'll wobble side to side. Now, his arms will rotate around all the way because they are, of course, on pegs. Then the arm itself will go up about that far, and then there's this extra joint here, the elbow, that makes him go up a bit more like that. And also that same joint lets it go a little bit backwards and forwards. Now the elbow is as usual just on a single joint for about 90 degrees. We'll also turn around below the shoulder. And luckily this time the hand is once again on a ball joint. So we'll go bit up, bit down, wiggle around, turn around and do everything a ball joint can do. The waist can turn side to side and, well, we'll go all the way once the back skirt is pushed backwards a little bit. Let's put this back in. Also the backpack has a little bit of articulation with these thruster pieces here. They are actually on ball joints, but it's just plastic rubbing against plastic, so I wouldn't use them too often. So they go like that, go backwards and forwards. Unfortunately, they don't go down a lot. I mean, I would have liked them to go down like this to actually help him take off and stuff, but yeah, I can't do that. Now the legs go forwards like that, and oh yeah, side skirts are molded together, but this time they can be separated. So legs go forward nicely like that, backwards like that, out like that, and knees are on a double joint, but you only get a bit more than 90 degrees, which is a bit of a shame. And the feet go forwards like that, backwards like that, and then side to side like that. We'll also rotate around all the way. And then there's this extra toe joint, and it's flat like that, and we'll go down a little bit like that. That gimmick is of course for the flying armor, which unfortunately isn't included here. Talking about accessories that aren't included, you can also remove this little thing here. Why did I just cut my nails before this review? There we go. There's a little peg here for the G Defender to form the Super Gundam. Now let's put it back because it's not included. Now, onto accessories that are included. For starters, let's start with the one I hate the most. It's not just a solid beam, it's not just a toothpick, but it's a toothpick with a hand attached to it, which makes it almost impossible to paint. You might have noticed my slightly annoyed tone, because yes, I absolutely hate these things. I loathe them, and I have always loathed them from the first time I saw one. Yeah. And to add insult to injury, it comes with perfectly fine functioning beam sabers. Now, to put things a bit in perspective, this is more a rant on the original one, because Bandai realized that they were being huge jerks to keep it nice and polite, and gave us 2 clear pink beams. Do note these beams are only included with this set. If you get any other high-grade Universal Century Mark II with whatever accessories, you're not going to get this. And they fit in there just fine. Now the problem is, you only get 1 right hand. Well, 2 if you count this thing, which means that if you want him to hold it in his right hand, yeah, he's going to hold it with a trigger finger. But the good thing is he does hold it quite nicely. If you can get it through like that. And same goes for his left hand, he holds it really securely, no problems whatsoever. Actually, that just makes it even worse. I mean, if you buy the original release, he can he can hold his beam sabers just fine, but you don't get any beam blades. Now, let's just put that back and try to forget about it ASAP. Now that let's continue on with this trigger finger hand. You of course get the beam rifle, and now you might have noticed that there's a hole here and that there is kinda a peg here, but yeah, I'm going to shatter your dreams. It won't fit on here. First thing I tried and it didn't work. And will fit in the hand really well. Let's wrap it on a little bit. This is like the old style hands. Be careful if you're going to remove this a lot, it'll end up just falling out. So try not to swab the weapons out too much. Then can hold his beam rifle just fine. Actually sits in there very securely and also has a pop-up handle so that he can kind of dual wield it. Like that. Then there's also his hype bazooka. Also has a little bit of a moving handle. Now unfortunately this one does not fit as well into the hands as the beam rifle. As you can see, it's a bit on the floppy side, but if you just put it on the shoulder, it's not going to go anywhere. So it's a bit of a problem, but it can be easily fixed. And you can also open this panel here so that you can store it on the back. And will sit in there really securely. Just be careful when you're posing him with the bazooka, because you will knock it off. Another one of his accessories is his earmuffs, or Vulcan guns, as you could also call them. And these don't actually look as nice as I would have expected them to look. They just look like your Gundam is wearing huge earmuffs instead of, yeah, having Vulcans and extra firepower. So, yeah, I generally suggest just leaving him off. They don't really add anything to the mobile suit except him looking a bit goofy. And his last accessory is his folding shield. And there are also 2 extra E-packs for his beam rifle, but they're not usable, they're just there for show. You also get 2 pegs. You can mount it on either one for different positions. And, like I said, it's a folding shield. But that's not really going to fold because this is of course just a high grade. And then there's this little peg here. You can put it either in there for the extended mode, or pick it in here to have it in store mode, I guess, and just put it on the lower arm like that. And of course you can put it in both arms. So, and that's all for accessories. So, like I said with my HGUC, I'm just going to go over some of the pros and cons of this mobile suit. And if you thought that I was exaggerating a little bit about the cons of this mobile suit, well then, you were completely right. Because, truth be told, the negatives of this mobile suit aren't really all that bad. The only major negative about, well, this particular set is that you don't get a right holding hand for the beam sabers. Another kinda negative one is that the earmuffs look kinda off, but that's really all for negatives. Positives are that articulation is pretty nice, accessories are pretty nice, and the color scheme is simply amazing. I wasn't expecting anything really from this model, and man, this sure turned out to be, well, perhaps even my top favorite of the entire set, while I was actually expecting it to be my least favorite of the set, seeing that it did have to compete with a chrome-plated kit and a Zeta Gundam. Yeah, there you go. And now for some size comparisons. Here we have the Titans version. Now, one funny thing is that the Titans version actually has a loose thruster and it really likes to fall out, but this one doesn't. And I'm pretty sure these two share the same mold. Well, actually they are identical, so I guess you kind of have to be a little bit lucky, or maybe they updated the molds with this guy. Who knows? Now, as you can see, the Gundam Mach 2 is a pretty standard sized Gundam because it is smaller than the HGUC. So I guess size doesn't always matter. And a final size comparison with the Gym Custom. And that's all for this part, and see you at part 3.